Hey guys, so this is gonna have to be a part two. Thankfully, YouTube let me in the last stream, which they hadn't been doing the last time, but they never reconnected back to it. So I'll have to report back to YouTube. They have had some problems with this, so I have to report to them. So hopefully you guys can find me on this new live stream. But yeah, just to answer some of your questions. Uh, Someone was saying that they met a girl in Mexico and then they've been video talking for 4 months. Should he go see her? And I said, absolutely, you should go see her. That I had a client, have a client who is in Mexico right now. And he said, Erica, I'm doing so well with connecting with the women here. So apparently, the women in Mexico are really tapped into their femininity, man out there. So, my advice to the gentleman who'd been speaking with the girl for 4 months on video, I'm like, absolutely you need to get there because I think video chatting is great, but there's nothing like actually being in that person's presence. So that's very important. So, what's the next question that I have for you guys? From you guys? It's good to see you too, Sean. Oh my gosh, Gianni just called me a MILF, a mom. Okay, well, I'm not a mom. Maybe one day I will be, but I'm not a mom today. Um, yeah, and like I said, I will let you guys know immediately as soon as I'm able to get my email list with a way to collect your emails right now. I'm just reevaluating some things. So I'll make sure um, about that. Someone says, what are your thoughts on waiting until marriage for sex? So this is a tricky question for me because I grew up very Christian and it was you don't have sex until marriage. But then once you heard every person that you met, like typically the majority of people who give that advice in Christianity like never followed through with it and they're like, oops, we messed up, we did this. So it's something that a lot of people preach, but they don't actually live. I personally don't agree with that. These are my personal thoughts. And people are like, oh, it's not what the Bible says. And I'm like, okay, well, it's not what people are experiencing. And so you have a lot of people who are in the church who have all these very dogmatic ideas, but they live lifestyles of abuse and trapped in pornography and have very behind the closet, behind the door, uh, very deep issues. So I think people hide behind religion with that. Listen, I think that sex is a very beautiful thing, and I think that, enjoying one another's body even before marriage, like that is a connection. And you have to see if you two have that sort of connection. Because here's the idea, not everyone connects sexually, and there may be some things that you're unaware of sexually that your partner has. I think that a lot of people who talk about this, they don't talk about what's really going on in their marriages personally, and how by not having sex before marriage that they're having real problems in their relationship. And so I think that yes, experience someone before marriage sexually is a beautiful thing, because the minute that, listen, it's a matter of the heart and a covenant of the heart. And so when you give your heart over to someone, the natural thing is to want to share your body with one another. I have just personally have never, I don't know one case of where people have waited until marriage uh, and it's worked for them. And then I see a culture of people. I mean, I know of a certain church where like they're very much about like not promoting fornication and sex, and they're like pushing these kids who are not even developed in their young 20s to get married. And it's like these are children, they don't even know who they are, and you're pushing them into marriage so that they don't fornicate. To me, it's a very backwoods mentality. I personally did that too. I was, kind of pushed into getting married very young, and it was a disaster. It was a disaster sexually, it was a disaster in every way, which is why I left that. So I personally don't agree with that. Obviously, I have some personal experiences attached to that, so I do have to preface it that is also some personal experience. But I've never ever met a couple where they waited until marriage and they had sex and they still to this day have a thriving sex life. I don't know of anyone. I think a lot of people talk about it from pulpits and platforms, but if you actually dig into their marriage, they actually have a lot of intimate problems that they will never talk about to other people. Um, uh, do women prefer men who have the brains but not the bronze? Yeah, there's definitely women uh, who love brains. Like, I remember, just this is my own personal experience. I remember meeting a man who was like, he was one of the most beautiful men I'd ever seen in my whole life. When I first met him, I couldn't even talk. He was so beautiful, and I like to talk, and I couldn't even speak because his beauty just overwhelmed me. And I was like, but the more I got to know him, he wasn't the, what is it? He wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer. He wasn't as smart, and it really just turned me off. So yeah, women do love brains, but then you have some women that's not important to them. They love a buff guy. It really depends on the woman. Brian says, "Why are some women drawn to married men?" Some women are drawn to married men because they see the safety of that man. I think women who get tired of being single, they get tired of being games being played. They get tired of avoidant attachment styles, and being cheated on and being strung along, and so they see a married man and they go, oh, here is safety. Like, here's a man that I can count on his love. This is how he shows up for his wife. This is how he shows up for his children. He provides for them. He shows up for them consistently in their life. And so a woman gets so tired of, like, kind of like flaky Peter Pan single men. Not all single men are flaky Peter Pans, but a lot are. And so they see that lack of stability, they see that lack of congruence, and they see a lot of single men as like lost boys, and they go, I just want a freaking man. And I was just talking to a girlfriend last night, and she goes, I don't want another project. Like, I think women just get tired of men who are not doing their own internal work, and they have these projects on their hands. And she said, I don't want another project. I want a man that's ready to go off the shelf. And so I think single women see married men as just that. They're ready to go men who have, and they just want to take them off the shelf. But it's really not right. It's like, you know what? He's become who he is because of the woman who is in his life. And to pull him out of that is a real disservice to the wife. It's a disservice to the man, because chances are his wife made him the man that he is today. And he has made her the woman that she is today. So to disrupt that, I find that to be very selfish, and very desperate, and a woman who has a very poverty mindset when it comes to love. Uh, Oh, that's a great question. Nate Spurs says, I've just started seeing a really lovely, beautiful girl, but she's from an incredibly rich family and it intimidates me. Any advice? Yeah, that can be super intimidating when, if you don't come from money and if you don't have a lot of money, and then you're just kind of brought into this world of lots of money and you feel like you're not a part of that. The best thing that I would encourage you to do, Nate, is to really shine with what this is why I always ask men, like, what is it that sets you apart? As there's a reason why. Okay, I thought it was gonna, I'm like taking pictures to send to my management of my property. I'm like, this is ridiculous with this internet. There's a reason why you're there in her life, and they will appreciate you for what you bring to her life. So you need to get clear with her on what value you bring to her life and why she has you in the picture. And you have to really own that when you show up with them. I'm gonna wrap this up because I'm getting concerned with my internet. Um, Derek says, "Good on you, Derek." Sometimes it's nice to read these testimonials. He said, "I went on a date this past weekend. One thing led to another, and she gave me oral sex. Good for you. Lots of making out and good conversation. Planning on doing a second date soon. You have to keep us posted on that." Um, Daniel, It doesn't mean Brene Brown says that we often think that, when something's going really well, that requires more vulnerability because typically we brace ourselves for the bad things that are about to occur that never do occur. And so we just spend all of this energy wasting it. So I would say, my darling, enjoy what you guys are having and let it grow. And in terms of finding if she's the one, like ask yourself, like, what are some core things that I really want my wife to have? And does this woman have these things? And if so, then yeah, my dear, you may have found the one. Okay, last question. Someone said you're frozen, but it's back on. Okay. Okay, last one. This is from Eric. Um, And he says, any advice on how to handle rejection without making it awkward? That is a really great question and sometimes difficult to implement. So, also, before I answer this question, I highly, highly, highly encourage you guys to check out my Emotional Warrior program. If you have questions about it, send me a message, send me an email. Let me know what about it you have questions on. There is a contact page on my website. Go to ericaangelo.com. There's contact. If you have some questions, if you're on the fence about not doing the program for a certain reason, you just want some questions answered, make sure that you reach out to me. I'd be happy to email you back with those answers. But this is something like a lot of the questions I see that come up, like these can all be resolved by going through that program. So make sure that you do that. So when it comes to rejection, one, it's always going to be awkward. It never gets easy. Um, but what you can do is go back to yourself and celebrating yourself. So when someone rejects you, like what once again, what I said to the other guy, like, what do you do that's different? If it's your humor, then return back to the humor. But sometimes just addressing it, like before coming back to yourself, just addressing it and just go, "Hey, I understand that not everyone is for everyone. Like and if I just don't do it for you, I get it. It doesn't feel good. I don't like it, but I hear you and I understand." Sometimes saying just those words alone really, really, really nip things in the bud for you because it makes you feel like you have your power back. You have your power back by using your voice. You don't have to be awkward about it, but always return back to yourself. So it's like, let's say as a girl, I'm like, okay, if I get rejected by a guy, okay, that sucks. This feels really uncomfortable. But at the end of the day, I'm a beautiful woman. So if I'm in a room with other people, I go, okay, who's next? Who gets to enjoy me next? So first address it, address the elephant in the middle of the room. Say, this isn't fun. I don't really enjoy this, but I appreciate you being honest with me. I know I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. So thank you so much for telling me. Um, I hope that helps you out. Sometimes just addressing it is very helpful. And Sean says, yes, the Emotional Warrior program is very insightful and incredibly helpful. Thank you so much, Sean. Sean is a part of that. And it is a life-changing experience. I just did one of the weeks just yesterday, and it really brought up some stuff in my own life. So I continue to do this program every year. You get lifetime access to it. You get to be a part of a Facebook community that I am very active in. And so you get more personal time with me in that group. I really, seriously, a lot of the questions here could be answered, resolved, and get you on to the next phase and the next chapter by going through this. So make sure you guys check it out. If you have questions about it, if you're like on the fence about it, um, it is life changing. He says, Bible MJ says, why is it so expensive? It's under $1,000. Is actually not very expensive because when you think about wasting 10 years of your life, what is $1,000? When you take a woman on several dates, what is $1,000? It's nothing in the grand scheme of things. It's how you measure the value of your life and how you measure the value of your time. Most of you guys will spend this money on eating fast food that you'll eventually shit out, or you'll go on vacations hoping to find the one, but because you've got some areas inside that are not in alignment, that you'll just keep sabotaging yourself. And so you just went on $1,000 vacation hoping to meet a woman and you didn't because you're not in alignment inside. So it is actually very cheap in the grand scheme of things. If I were you, Bible MJ, I would look at your money mindset and then ask yourself, why do you not value yourself enough to invest $1,000 into yourself? That would be my response to you with that, is look at your money mindset, because it's actually not a lot of money when it comes to your life and getting your life to a place where you're enjoying it and it's fulfilling and you have the love of your life. So there's that. And there is a payment plan. So there's also that as well. 1,000 month of your month salary. I'd rather spend a month's salary than spend the rest of my life miserable and alone. That is too expensive of a price that I will never pay. So there you go. All right, guys, I love you. Remember that you have what it takes. And I will continue to sit with this question and this response that you guys shared with me about how a lot of you men don't open up because you don't feel like people actually really care, and that so you just keep everything in. And so that is something that is very sobering for me to hear as a coach. And I will sit with that, and I'll be responding to those of you who emailed me back. And this is a subject for me that will not be going away, that I will be addressing and bringing up. And it is something that we talk about in our Emotional Warrior program on the Facebook site. So, guys, I love you so much. Be loved. Know that you have what it takes, and I will see you next week on my next live Q&A, my lingerie. Um, and I will be back in the black one, but it was in the laundry. And yes, I definitely agree with Sean. He says being stuck in place and not moving forward with your life is not worth a few dollars. I completely agree. I love you guys. Sending you love from Bali. Sending you a view from the pool, which I was just in this morning because it's hot here. It's getting hot in Bali. It's getting hot. I love you guys. You take care.